video is sponsored by Guitar Fetish. More about them later. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Guns and Guitars, and today we're going to be taking a close look at the Xaviere Guitars PRO555. As you can see, this is a single cut LP style guitar with a licensed Floyd Rose tremolo. Now, what's pretty amazing about this guitar is the price, but what's probably even more incredible is what you get for that price. So, come along with me as we do a full in-depth review and sound demo of the Xaviere Guitars PRO555. I'm Dan, this is Guns and Guitars. Let's get started. So, what is so great about this guitar? Well, let's go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room, right? The price. Okay, this thing retails for only $349, which for what you get is a spanking deal. Now, these are actually currently on sale on the Guitar Fetish website for $309. So I don't know how long that sale is lasting for. It might be one of those sales that just last forever. So let's go ahead and talk about the build construction, because you guys know that I am a guitar builder, so that's the kind of stuff that I geek out on. So it is a solid mahogany body with a set neck design, rosewood fretboard, and then according to the Guitar Fetish website, it has a 1-inch thick maple slab cap and then a flamed maple veneer. Now, I honestly kind of find it hard to believe at this price point that there is a solid inch thick maple slab on this, so we'll rip it apart and verify that a little bit later. But they definitely mention that the flame maple part is a veneer, which definitely makes sense because to get an inch thick flamed maple slab, there's no way they could do that at this price point. The pickups are GFS Crunchy PAT pickups, which are also available from the Guitar Fetish website. If you guys aren't familiar with Guitar Fetish, they sell lots of guitar parts and Xaviere brand guitars. So if you're not really in the market for a new guitar, but there are things about this guitar that you like the hardware, the tremolo, the pickups, the electronics, whatever, all that stuff is available for individual purchase as well from the Guitar Fetish website. So I'll make sure that I include some links down there in the description. Now, something that's really cool about these Crunchy PAT pickups is that they have something that Guitar Fetish calls quick plug connectors. So if you're not into soldering, or you don't know how to solder, or you don't have a soldering iron, you can buy these pickups and a quick plug harness, and you can upgrade your guitar without having to solder a single connection, which is pretty rad. But not only that, they sound amazing, and you can coil split them, which this guitar does. We have a neck coil split that is a hidden push pull pot right there. It's kind of a sleeper. We got our bridge pull pot right there. And so you can run either one in single coil or humbucker or both at the same time. And the cool thing is when they're both coil split and you're in the middle position, they are split properly so that you still get hum canceling between the two pickups. So that's pretty cool. It comes with a double locking Floyd Rose licensed tremolo. Now, my experience with the tremolo has actually been really positive. It holds tuning stability really well, and there's enough fine adjustment on these fine tuners that I can actually go back and forth between E standard and drop D without having to unlock my nut piece. So it's nice to be able to adjust that on the fly if you need to go back and forth between standard and drop tunings in the same set. And speaking of tuning, something that is awesome and also kind of ridiculous is that this thing comes with actually really nice tuning machines. These are, I believe, just sealed bearing 14-to-1 tuners. And they are really smooth, really great fine tuning adjustability. Honestly, too good for this guitar because it has a locking nut, right? So pretty much you only use them for winding up the string. After the strings are done stretching, you lock down that nut and never use them again until it's time to change strings. So that's kind of weird to me that they put such high quality tuners on a guitar with a double locking tremolo. And so if I'm being completely honest, I think down the road I'm probably going to cannibalize these tuners for different guitar builds and put on something cheaper, since it really doesn't matter because all of my fine tuning adjustability comes from bridge, and I'd rather put these on a guitar where I'm actually going to use them. So but I think it's better that they provide you with better than you need as opposed to just barely enough to get by. I think that speaks a little bit to Guitar Fetish's business model. But that's enough talking for now. I mean, let's get into the sound demos, and I'll just let you guys see and hear what this guitar is capable of. We'll go ahead and start with the neck pickup, and we'll just do a quick back-to-back of coil split versus humbucker. One thing that I really love about Floyd Rose style tremolos in general is that not only can you do those deep nose dives where the strings get completely, wonky, but they also do a beautiful, gentle vibrato, which I personally have used a lot when I've been gigging this thing at church. Why, but for some reason I'm just dying to see if this thing is actually an inch thick maple cap on here. I think maybe just because at this price point I don't really believe it, and so I just got to see for myself. I imagine this is all going to be covered in shielding paint or something, so I'll probably have to scrape it away, but I just got to see. Yep, covered in shielding paint. Alright, so it's obviously all covered in shielding paint, so I'm going to go get a chisel, I think, and I'll just scrape some away and see what we find. Alright, so it's kind of hard to pick up on camera. This all right here is all just mahogany, and I thought if there was an inch thick maple cap that I would see the transition right in there, but the transition doesn't happen until way down here, way down kind of below where this pot sits. But there is a transition in there. Like I said, it's hard to see on camera, but it does go from a pinkish color to a more blonde color, and the wood grain is definitely different. So there definitely is a maple cap on this. I don't know if it's a full inch thick. They may start with a full inch thick slab and then carve the top. So you're probably likely left with more like a 1/2 inch thick maple slab, which according to the tone wood debate, most people that think that tone wood matters on an electric guitar would say that a 1/2 inch maple slab would be good enough to get the job done. So that's good to know. All right, next thing I want to check, as long as I got it on the workbench, is I want to see if this Floyd Rose tremolo is the same one that they describe on their website as the heavy duty steel and brass. Sorry, my drill's making all kinds of noise. That's not a brass tremolo block. So it does have the Floyd Rose logo on it, so it is a licensed Floyd Rose. It could be steel, but I was under the impression that the steel and brass one would be steel on top and brass in the actual block. I was a little bit disappointed just because I had really hoped that they had put their higher end tremolo on this, but this tremolo is a little bit different and it appears to not be available on their website, so probably one of the ways that they cut their costs. Now, like I said, overall, I've been really pleased with this tremolo. The only issue that I've had is if I don't crank down this tremolo arm, I really want to do a deep dive with the strings, it can kind of pop a little bit and become even more loose. And so if I'm going to do that kind of tremolo work, I really need to crank it down, and then it holds just fine. So if it's a little bit loose, then it'll kind of skip the threads a little bit, so you just really got to tighten it down. Now, I pretty much never slam the tremolo like that, and especially pretty much the only place that I've really gigged this thing has been at church, and so I'm just doing little gentle vibratos, so if it's a little bit loose so the arm can swing out of the way when I don't want it, that's fine and perfect. Now, a great thing about this guitar, and again, about the versatility, is that while it definitely lends itself to heavier, thicker music styles, it definitely is classy enough to fit right in at church. The gloss finish on it is immaculate. I mean, this, I imagine it's some sort of lacquer, but you can't find any orange peel on this at all. It is just polished and slick and gorgeous. Now, my last bit of criticism for this, and some of you guys might think this is vain, but I honestly think that it's kind of a real issue, is the headstock. Look at how much wood protrudes from beyond those top tuning keys. It's got a really big, bulky headstock. Now, aesthetically, whatever. It's just, personal preference. Where it's an issue is that I actually got a blemished single cut hard case from Guitar Finish, which I haven't been able to find the blemish on, but it's supposed to be the case that goes with this guitar, and I actually struggle to fit this guitar into that case because of the headstock. So as you can see, if I just set it down in there, it doesn't want to. It rests actually on top of the wood a little bit. If I press it down, it'll clear the wood, but not the foam. So then it kind of peels that foam back as it goes down. Now, it is a nice tight fit, so it's not going to move around in there at all, which is kind of a good thing, but it's just kind of frustrating that it doesn't really fit in its own case. And so, like I said, it's kind of vain. Maybe there is a hard case that this headstock will fit just fine in, but in my opinion, it should really fit in your own hard case. So Xaviere Guitars or Guitar Fetish, whoever's in charge, you might want to consider maybe redesigning your headstock a little bit. If you just take off, 1/4 of an inch, it completely solves the problem. And so aesthetically, there's nothing wrong with the headstock. It's just function-wise, doesn't quite fit in the case. And that might not be a deal breaker for you, especially at this price point. Now let's talk about this price point a little bit, okay? Because our economy is kind of down and a lot of people are kind of hurting. It's awesome that you could get such a high quality guitar for such a little amount of money. So even if you didn't like necessarily the tone of this guitar, you could buy this guitar and gut the pickups, maybe do an upgrade to the, heavy duty steel and brass Floyd Rose tremolo and put in some, pearly gates or whatever your favorite pickups are. And you could have a monster guitar for well under $1,000, which to get something even close to this from one of the name brands, you're looking at least $1,000, even from like Schecter, for example, which I feel like is probably the best value in the industry as far as name brand guitars go. I think you'd be looking at least $1,000 to get these features. And I don't want to speak ill of Schecter at all. You guys know that I love Schecter. I've reviewed tons of their gear on my channel. But I think this is honestly a better value because it comes in about half the price of most of the Schecter stuff that I've reviewed, and you just get kind of the same quality. Look at the close-up of these fret ends. I mean, each fret end has been individually dressed, which at this price point is pretty unheard of. I mean, this thing is extremely comfortable to play. It has a very nice low action on it. The fret leveling and crowning and polishing has just been done expertly. I mean, I don't think I could do it better myself, honestly. And so the playability is there, the features are there. I think for the price point, the tremolo and the pickups are there. I mean, to put it simply, it well exceeded my expectations for this guitar. You know, I've had this thing for 4 or 5 months now, and I've gigged the heck out of it. It still looks beautiful. It still sounds good. I get compliments everywhere that I take it. Now, this guitar has me thinking that I actually really want to try out the Guitar Fetish heavy duty steel and brass tremolo, see how it compares to this one. So maybe they'll send me one in the future to review. I think that'd be pretty awesome. Now, if you want to hear a real guitar player demo this guitar and see what this guitar is really capable of, my buddy Guitar Max actually made a video on this exact guitar like a year ago. So you can check out that video over there. And if you want to see how this thing compares to what I would say is a comparable quality Schecter guitar at double the price, you can watch that video right over there. And until next time, I'm Dan, this is Guns and Guitars, and I'll see you in that next video.